Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. This was a requested weapon from several people. The Arca Scisco?
Scisco.
Close enough. Anyway, so y'all were requesting a build for it. Been messing around with it for a bit. Managed to finally hit like 1,000,000 damage with it. And it's not a tough build. Obviously, you can min-max even further. But this is just a pretty basic generic build that'll still give you access to like higher level content. Um, could definitely be tweaked for like a level cap Demolist run, especially where you're regularly armor stripping and whatnot. But we're going to be running an Eclipse build. Let's go over what it is. This is so dumb. It does a lot of damage, but we had to give up both arcanes to get it. Brief Respite, obviously, for like shield gating. You can't rely on rolling guard, especially in like with like all the Eximus running around and like higher levels, right? Augur Message and Brief Respite, combined with the fact that you're going to be spamming the Shuriken a lot. And I did put an Umbral Forma on the Ash, because the Umbral Forma plus Seeking Shuriken is just enough to get 100% armor reduction. So if you don't have it, maybe you'll have to give up like Prime Sure-Footed, especially with the upcoming changes and whatnot. But Arcane Velocity, Arcane Pistolier. So I basically made up for the additive damage of the Galvanize mod and just made up for it with volume. But the headshots end up hitting for like 400k, 800k, and rarely you'll get something just over 1,000,000. So pretty generic duration build. If you want to look at it, there's your chance to screenshot. There you go. Eclipse, a little bit of power strength, so it's not doing anything crazy. Damage increases 216%. Alright, Scourge for forced headshots. We're going to need it. Just a generic build, trying to get statuses on it. Corrosive Viral Heat. Ideally, because we're going to be using the Panzer, we just want one heat proc and one corrosive proc, and 10 stacks of viral as guaranteed as possible. So it's a hot swap build, tactical reload, to make changing everything out that much easier, right? Nothing crazy. And Merciless to help with the reload. I even have fast hands on here. Firestorm does help with the AoE on the alt fire though. So we're going for the bullet attractor, the headshot bullet attractor, just to help out the weapon as much as possible. But there's your build. Alright, for this glorious build. Going to be going pure viral because we're going to be slashing, so corrosive isn't going to help. You know what? We'll actually build up. Hold on. It'll be this. I was able to roll a Riven. This gives you the best multipliers you can. 5 Forma. It's a little expensive for a meme, but it gets the job done, right? Crit chance, crit damage, faction, galvanized shot, diffusion. 2 mods to give us viral. You technically have a flex slot here, but I found, as with most things, if you can offload a mod onto the frame, and I use velocity to get the fire rate up, that just going for more crit chance is good enough, right? And especially with the damage that it puts out. So here's the build if you want to screenshot it. It's pretty tight. 0 capacity left over. And we're going to be abusing the Scourge Headshot Bullet Attractor and Deadhead to get our additional damage. Definitely pays dividends. Not going to lie. Anyway, there you go. So So let's see the damage. It's kind of silly. So 400Ks, 500Ks, when the viral from the Panzer gets stacked up, and we start regularly getting those orange crits. Definitely level cap worthy, especially since you're spamming Shuriken to strip armor. And with the bullet attractor, makes landing those deadhead boosted headshots way easier. You get the deadhead 30% bonus. Everything's a crit. You're only hitting yellows and oranges, so you're getting the headshot weakness multiplier plus the for the 3x plus the crit bonus, which is another 2x, and it just boosts the damage out the ass. So let's take a look at let's do a demo list. I'm gonna turn in game sounds down, so only I have to hear it. 1 second. Okay. Alright, so damage is okay. The issue that you're going to end up having is energy, right? Because in order to get your multipliers up, you're going to have to basically be spamming 2. So one of the things you could do is, if you don't mind the reload, swap out Pistolier for Energize. That will essentially fix your issue. Because generally when you're doing like a Demolist kill, right, you're not really worried about like enemies nearby. 1 second. So as you're running toward, right, like say the Demolist is right here, you're obviously not going to have a shit ton of Demolists. So you're going to be, your stacks on your stacking mods should be stacked up. And you're going to have to strip to keep them up. Luckily, we didn't do anything crazy. And just throw the Scourge Prime whenever you get the chance. So it's not tremendous damage, but I find that the raw damage is pretty sufficient. And with Pistolier, if you're looking for something where you can just spam it more, there is the option of taking Galvanized Crosshairs off and doing Lethal Torrent, and doing like a Merciless build, and relying on Pistolier for like headshot kills. But one of the issues that you have is there's no punch through on this weapon, right? So I would advise, and that's part of the reason why I rolled this Riven, is it saves me a mod slot. But if you don't have a Riven for it, I would say prioritize. Like, I was able to roll crit chance, faction damage to Grenier, and minus weapon recoil with a minus damage to Corpus negative. So the double up on the faction damage for Grenier pays massive dividends. But the fact is that it is kind of a sweaty build. So something like this might be more advisable. If you don't have Expel Grenier, you could probably just go with just like a generic Hornet Strike to just get the damage up as high as possible. And let's take a look at that build. And we'll go back to the exos. So I'm seeing like 1 to 2k body shots, unstacked on corrosive, and with corrosive stacked up, I'm still seeing like 43k on 190 exos. So the damage is okay. Like, it's definitely steel path viable, but you got to be able to take advantage of the spammability of it, right? And just in terms of transparency, I am 100% using an auto clicker, because this is a semi-auto weapon, and you gotta click in order to be able to fire it each time. I was not able to come up with a true like sniper build that did enough damage that I was happy with it. Like, the weapon just doesn't have enough damage to regularly one-shot. I was able to come up with like some smaller scenarios where you could get damage out of it, but it wasn't something where you could just like enjoy the weapon and just run through, right? Which is kind of what we're looking for. The stuff that I was messing around with was that goes here. Like, I had luck with stuff like this. With Seeker, the damage does go down a bit, right? Because you lose multi-shot. So we keep velocity on the frame. We eat the reload, but we gain the benefit of like the occasional slash proc for keeping Merciless up. You keep your raw damage, but more importantly, even though you lose damage on a single target enemy, we gain punch through, which allows it to kill way nicer. And because this is corrosive and we won't be stripping, let's get a kill first. Yeah, once the damage gets stacked up, right? And keeping up Pistolier isn't too bad. Like, obviously trash mobs exist, right? Because it's raw damage with corrosive. When you get a headshot, for like most of the star chart, like for the entire star chart and like most of Steel Path, as long as you're not doing like a super long run, this felt like the best build. It like in terms of like feeling strong, this felt like a really good build. I was able to do like half-hour Kuva survivals in Steel Path, and was perfectly fine. I was having to use the Velocity Pistolier combo and an auto clicker, but this worked, right? Like this did this did all right. That being said, even though Hornet Strike is here, this will technically do more damage. Though you won't really gain the benefit of the raw damage. Obviously, it does boost it, right? But because this isn't really built for dots, you're not going to gain like the full benefit of the faction mod, right? Though you will RNG some slash procs, which is nice. You could also do like this. Up the status chance, it lowers the weighting for corrosive. It doesn't hurt your damage too much, because look, we only go from 90 to 72 on the weighting. So you will lose proc chance, but you gain the benefit of getting more puncture and slash, more importantly, slash. You will notice it way more. Because it's a pistol, you don't have the ability to run something like Hunter Munitions, right? So let's see what that damage is. 190 exos again. And I'm not using Eclipse. Whoop. So the couple of slash procs that we get are getting the double dip on faction, right? It's not a big deal, but obviously I'll take what I can get. And because we're still so heavily weighted for raw damage, Deadhead is still an option. But I like using Merciless for the reload, because there are going to be times where you can't reload, or you won't, the headshot from the arcane, the ammo pistolier, will fall off, and 2.2 seconds feels long to me. So it's up to you, complete personal preference. Precision headshot kill, you can do it pretty easily, and maybe just as you're running around between mobs, or between like groups of enemies or room to room, just make sure to reload, right? And obviously the fall off on the stacks is way nicer. But I enjoyed Merciless. So personal preference on that. If you can land headshots, like if you're comfortable using Scourge, like running from room to room, and then you get to like a room where you have to like defend something, like an immobile defense, or say like a cascade or something like that, where you move from like room to room, and you're capable of throwing down the Scourge in the center of the room to gain the headshot bonus on as much as possible. Go with Deadhead in that scenario, obviously. So this build works also for more dealing with hordes. You won't get the one shot, which is an issue for this, because there's no punch through is such an expensive stat. Like, it's such an expensive stat for pistols. This is the only mod that gives punch through on pistols. So if you're rolling a Riven, I would highly recommend trying to leave punch through on it to some extent. Obviously, if you roll like a god roll, clearly take that. But if you, like, say for this weapon, where it's crit chance, damage to Grineer, or for this Riven, crit chance, damage to Grineer, minus weapon recoil, I would actually prefer if it was crit chance, faction damage, and punch through. And as long as you get at least like one, right? As long as you get one, you're golden. Reason being is because when you're shooting something and it dies, the body still counts for a couple seconds. So you can't shoot through the body to hit the enemy behind. So it slows down your kill rate a ton. Obviously, that's not a big deal, but like, it doesn't make sense in this scenario why a dead body. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it, right? But in terms of like gameplay, the dead body of the enemy soaking up bullets and you're not able to punch through them, it hurts your kill rate significantly with this weapon, especially if you're not running an auto clicker. But Pistolier lasts for 20 or 12 seconds. If you were to do the Deadhead, Arcane, the stacks last for 24. You got plenty of time to kill something. If it's like a trash mob, you can keep it up. So everybody wants to see the meme damage. Let's look at the meme damage. And okay. Okay, so this is more for Demolus. It requires strip, so that's a condition, right? Because we are getting massive damage amp from an unarmored enemy, and we're hitting it with viral. And we're getting headshots for basically 6 times the damage, plus the 30% headshot multiplier, which is boosting our damage even higher as like a final multiplier. We have tons of conditional multipliers that are helping us out. So you really gotta make sure you're stripping enemies. It's very energy intensive, but it does the damage though. So velocity and Pistolier. If you're comfortable with reloading, take Pistolier off. And use like Energize if you don't care about the ammo economy. But velocity, 120 fire rate, it's the best single source of fire rate for pistols. So it's up to you. So here we go. The meme damage. And even with this, you are going to be heavily reliant. You are going to be heavily reliant. All right, 700k. Not bad. We could also do, since we're forcing headshots, this would actually give us more damage. Obviously, it's another conditional on gameplay, which I am not a fan of, like, recklessly adding them. Oh, I messed that up. All right, 1.2 million. There you go. Not bad. Not bad for this silly weapon. Personally, and this is personal play style, I am not a fan of this mod, with the exception of a setup that allows you to get really easy headshots. So say like the Scourge, for example, with the headshot bullet attractor. This guarantees the headshot. So in this circumstance, if you're willing to use that playstyle where you're constantly swapping between weapons, right? You can get nasty damage out of this. Because the mod, when it's completely stacked up, is what? 120% on your first headshot, and a stacking bonus of 40% up to 5x. So it's 320% crit chance. Right? Like, that's insane. But you have to be able to hit headshots regularly. So it's a conditional. I generally only use this with the Scourge personally. But if you enjoy landing headshots and you enjoy abusing this mod, it is very abusable. There are rewards to be had if you can use this. Because there aren't any... Like, I don't think you could get a Riven. I don't think it's possible to get a Riven that gives you 320% crit chance. So if you can use this, you enjoy the play style associated with it, there are rewards to be had. But there's your meme damage. There's a multitude of builds. Just to give some variance. Okay, so for like general mission running, right? You could also do... like something like this. Way more raw damage, but with way fewer multipliers. Way worse multipliers. And you actually start doing like a significant amount of like dot damage. Oh, hold on. There we go. You end up being fairly reliant on dot damage. So this is kind of up to you. If you want to like help yourself out a little bit, I left it up there because like that's what I was going to talk about. So this build does really good damage. You get the scaling of corrosive. You're kind of reliant on the Panzer, and the galvanized shot stacks are going to be what make it easier for you to get merciless stacks. If the merciless falls off, but obviously the very first stack's going to be pain, right? Right? So there's damage there, right? So I would say work towards something like this. Obviously the non... let's see, what do we got? Like something like this. If you just enjoy the weapon, but you don't have the prime mods. One of the things you could also do is if you're comfortable with aiming, this is significantly better for the single mod crit chance bonus, but it requires you to aim. So if you don't like it, I get it. And you could do this also. Obviously, the prime mods are significantly more stable damage because they're guaranteed. There's no condition on them, right? You just get it. So these 4 mods would be your core. You would do a fire rate, and then you would do 2 60/60s for a specific element that reduces the enemy's scaling damage, or the enemy's scaling damage reduction, the tool that the enemy uses to survive. So for Grenier, it's armor. For Corpus, it's shields. For Infested, you could do like a gas electric. You could also do like a viral heat would be pretty solid also. And what you would do is you would just do, say like I'm doing corrosive, right? Is you would just tune the weighting to where the element that deals with the enemy's defensive scaling, the weighting for it is slightly above the dot that infinitely scales. So that would be like heat, obviously, slash, toxin, electric, things like that. Dots where you can see like 200, 300 stacks on them. So it allows you to continue to do damage. And instead of just not being able to scale your damage anymore, you just have to shoot them more. It's a little more forgiving. But this would be a build with no faction, right? And it would be a cheaper build. So food for thought. But anyway, there you go, guys. This was honestly a pretty... I'm glad people recommended this. This is a really interesting weapon, and to be honest, I forgot this thing existed. The main issue that I see it having is it just doesn't have the crit chance to be a sniper. And it also doesn't have the status chance to be like a status sniper. And more importantly, it's zoom bonus. At least it's on hit. That's pretty cool. Where you don't have to reach like a combo. The combo goes to 5, and that's it. Where the other ones infinitely stack. So it's a weird thing where it's like getting flat 20% crit chance, and like flat status chance. It's different. It's nice. But in terms of like the multipliers necessary to get like real serious damage out of it, it's just not available on this weapon, where the other ones get like headshot bonus, like a separate headshot bonus multiplier, or like bonus crit chance or bonus crit damage. It's a pistol and it doesn't have it. So you gotta kind of use the bullet hose aspect because of what the bonuses are on the aiming. And that kind of pigeonholes you to kind of a specific build, because it's additive, right? So it's not like a final multiplier for the bonuses, which would be wildly different. If it was plus 20% crit chance, but it was based on what your modded crit chance was, that would be entirely a different issue. Like, it obviously wouldn't be like a fantastic bonus, but Jesus, that would be a better bonus. Right? That'd be entirely different. And the same with status chance. So it's just dealing with what the weapon's got. It's the tiny little pistol that could. Hopefully these builds help you guys. This was actually pretty fun. I like the recommendation. I gave a couple of builds, variations. But you obviously saw the one that hits for millions. So enjoy your Riven rolling, because in order to do that damage, it required over 100% faction damage to Grenier. So, anyway, take it easy, guys. Thank you for recommending the weapon. Have a blessed day, guys.